Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, raising fees on prescription drugs. Also, the dumbest crime bill of any dumb bill ever. And the legislature is hard at work.
Oh no, sir. This is special for Mr. Helton, sir. You see this? Come back in a half hour and I'll give you another look at it.
After the first 2 weeks, I need a drink. After the session, you will too. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hey, y'all.
It has been a whirling dervish down at the State House, and we haven't even got to the dumbest bills yet. We've gotten some pretty dumb ones. But the dumbest crime bill I have ever seen is SB 132. Mm-hmm. As Groucho Marx famously said, politics is the art of looking for a problem, finding it everywhere, diagnosing it incorrectly, and applying the wrong remedy. Mm-hmm. What this bill does is that it would criminalize anyone who buys Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10 at a legitimate store. Mm-hmm. It would also make it a Class D felony, and out there with heroin and LSD, mm-hmm. It would send the people who sold it to prison, the people who use it to prison. Instead of regulating it and taxing it, they want to throw people in jail, Susan, who are, many of them are using it because they can't get medical cannabis.
Exactly. I mean, you're talking about, we're wanting to reduce crime. Well, you're doing a bill here that's going to increase the crime rate to start with.
Yeah.
Second of all, we got promised medical marijuana in 2021. It's not the citizens' fault that need medical marijuana that the Cannabis Commission cannot get their junk together. Okay, that's not their problem. They're dealing with back pain. They're dealing with menopause. They're dealing with chronic pain. They're dealing with anxiety. They're dealing with anxiety. And what the legislature wants to do is go, oh, I don't care. We're just going to make it illegal. Instead of doing the research to find out and how to regulate it and to tax the crap out of it.
Well, Tennessee and Kentucky have already done that. I mean, Mississippi did a dumber bill than you can even imagine that Alabama would do. They banned it except for creams and sodas, which, Josh, but Governor Ivey said, we need to be strong on crime, but we also need to be smart on crime. This is stupid on crime.
Or we could just create more crime.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
This is essentially just creating more crime. And again, man, what are we doing? This is from a plant. I mean, it's all from a plant, and it's all part. It's a lesser psychoactive than marijuana. Regular marijuana is, okay, and that's the reason why it's essentially legal right now, is because it doesn't rise quite to that level, and so people get around this, get around the law by producing this product, and just leave people alone, man. Yeah. They're not hurting anybody. I mean, do we have a whole lot of criming going on over the Delta 8s, or is this just another product of people trying to prop up pharmaceutical companies and alcohol manufacturers and everything? I got to tell you, if I've got some kids out there and they're going for Delta 8 instead of beer and some of the other stuff, I'm all for the Delta 8.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use it. I know people who do, that it helps, with different problems that they have, and I'm sure people use it recreationally. Of course they do. But what it seems like to me, and this is on the whole, is we're having a session that's completely reactionary. And then it looks like they've got two dartboards down at the State House. And one says bad policy, and the other one says even worse policy. Now, this is not just bad policy. This is even worse. Tax it, regulate it, and that's what Tennessee and Tennessee forgot to tax it, so they're coming back this year to tax it.
Right.
But they regulate it.
But you're not going to stop people from doing what's necessary. I guarantee you, if the state of Alabama outlawed alcohol tomorrow,
yeah, right.
How
That's not
fast
bad.
do you think people would be doing it, finding whatever they could, making bathtub gin? Did anybody pay attention during, the abolition period?
Yeah. No.
Prohibition, I meant not abolition, prohibition. They got it any way they could. It just wasn't regulated.
Yeah.
It was dangerous, and people going to do what they want to do.
I guarantee you, if the legislature was, meeting after going out to fancy dinners where they were smoking Delta 8 instead of drinking, single malt scotch, they would be, oh, you're not taking away my stuff.
Yeah.
But again, they have sought to create a criminal class out of just regular Alabamians. Nobody's robbing banks. Nobody's knocking over convenience stores. Nobody's doing crime to get Delta 8. So if you do if you don't regulate it and tax it and ban it, then all you're doing is creating a new criminal class, which is just out of control. Josh, you wrote this week, there are several controversial bills passed this week or came out of committee this week is really an understatement. It is like all the controversial bills that could be brought have been brought. And if they get any worse, we will be living in some third world despot country,
Yeah, man, we're covering the culture wars. There's no doubt about that. I mean, listen, we've defined what a woman is. It's we're making great progress for the people of this state. I heard just the other day, my wife and I, we were up late worrying about things at the house, and I said to her, maybe by in the morning, if we stay up all night worrying about it, we too can figure out who is a woman.
Yeah.
And because, these are the things that keep families up, and these are the things that they really need them to tackle.
And they've changed. They want to change the age that to get vaccines. You have to
Without
be
parental
without
consent.
parental control, and you can't get counseling without parental consent.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've been sexually harassed at school, the counselor can't talk to you without talking to mom and dad.
Or if
first.
you've been sexually harassed at home,
What?
you can't.
Yeah.
You got to get
Yeah, well,
permission.
What's that, Josh?
The biggest problem there is that if you have a kid in high school with a substance abuse addiction,
Yeah.
That you're essentially now mandating that any counselor has to receive permission from the parents, and then also share whatever they talk about with the parents, and it's just going to deter kids from seeking out help, and that's one of the biggest problems that you have with a bill like that. Come from Larry Stutz, of course. And so, he's got his own thoughts about pretty much everything. It's another entry into your life by Republicans.
Yeah.
And we've covered this a lot now, where they just seek to put government at every part of your life and control everything.
Yep. Well, that seems to be the optimum word is we have big government, nanny state policies that want to control people like I would have never thought the Republicans would want to do. But they're now the party of big government. But anyway, we'll leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Speed is one of the biggest factors in a fatal car crash. Your car stops, but your body does not stop at the same time. Your body keeps going, and that could be running into your seatbelt, that could be hitting the airbag, something has to stop it, and unfortunately it's something very hard.
There have been times that we've come upon accidents where if people weren't speeding, they'd probably still be alive today.
It's truly dangerous and it puts everybody at risk.
There's just no point to it. This kind of stuff has got to stop.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Here is another doozy to prove that we've been out of control in certain parts of the legislature. There are two bills, SB 93 and SB 99, that, Susan, if they were enacted, if they become law, every prescription filled in Alabama would carry an additional $10.64 fee. Now, they claim that fee will not be passed on to the consumer, but everybody knows that every fee is carried to the consumer, which would cost an individual about $900 a year in extra fees for their prescription medication.
$900 up to $3,600.
Yeah.
They say that they're taxing the PBMs. The PBMs are going to turn right around and put that on the cost of the drug. I don't know if these guys need to actually go to business school to figure out how this works. I don't think they even finished high school with understanding how business and economics work. But you talk about a single mother with a sick kid, that needs 5 prescriptions. There's another $50 tacked on something she can't afford to start with. You look at senior citizens, they're barely being able to afford the prescriptions as it is. Add this onto it, and it's going to cripple them. I mean, they're not, once again, they're not thinking this through.
And PBM is a pharmacy benefit management company. But Josh, this just puts an additional financial burden on the working people of Alabama by people that get paid a substantial salary to sit around in air-conditioned rooms and make decisions about other people's lives.
Yeah, it's kind of like the lessons that we're learning from tariffs right now. You're not going to be able to. You can say you're going to tax somebody in the middleman on a lot of this stuff. And listen, if people have a legit concern, I think, about PBMs and the management of things and the cost raising and some other stuff that's taking place. And so I do think there needs to be some things done, and there needs to be some things done to help out independent pharmacies out there. But this right here is not it.
No.
And, this, if I'm not mistaken, this was brought by a pharmacist who is now a lawmaker. And this is another lesson of elections having consequences for regular folks. You could have had Mallory Hagan in this spot, and this is who you chose. Right now, I guarantee you Mallory Hagan wouldn't be trying to give you $10 extra on your prescription. But this is, it's a solution to an actual problem. The solution just makes the problem worse for the average person. While it may ultimately help the people that I believe Philip Grigsby's trying to help in this thing, and that be the independent pharmacies, of which he was one, and I believe owns a couple. I think this is going to be problematic for the customers that he's going to be trying to serve out there. And while it may force the PBMs to do some things differently, I don't think it's going to be well received by the public in general.
No, I don't think it's going to be received at all by the public, because already Alabama is facing a huge potential crisis from the federal funding cuts. I mean, we're talking about cuts to Medicaid. We're talking about cuts to food assistance programs like SNAP and WIC. We're looking at, just UAB losing, around $1 billion in funding for research and science. I mean, Alabama is going to be deeply hurt by these tax cuts. Now, the main reason these things are coming to fruition is not to cut the size and scope of government. Now, they can tell you that all they want to. The reason these cuts are going to come is because it's to reinstate or to keep going the 2017 Tax Cut and Job Act, which gave the highest earners in the country a lot of money at the cost of the lower income folks. That's all this is.
Right. It's corporations and high earners that get a break while the rest of the country suffers, so that they're paying higher taxes on pharmaceuticals. So they're not getting the aid that we all pay for as taxpayers just because this special group can get these tax breaks. That's all. It's that simple. I mean, we're talking about, we get in the state of Alabama and in all states, for every federal $1 in federal taxes that we pay, we get $2.01 back.
Yeah.
When you multiply that out, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
When you start cutting into it, it's going to be devastating.
I mean, Josh, we're really talking about $14.5 billion that potentially could be cut in Alabama. I mean, we'll all go away. But it could be cut deep enough to harm the working people of Alabama. And look, you can love the Trump administration or hate the Trump administration. What this is a tax cut for the rich paid for by the poorest.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. Listen, this is, there's a big saying in the progressive community right now, and it's summed up by the letters FAFO, and this is the FO part of what you've done. Okay, you thought it was fun. You thought this thing was going to be fun, and he said cute things about the lady, and he said some mean stuff. He's going to get this stuff cleaned up, and he's going to invite his billionaire weirdo friend in to cut all the stuff out, and while his toddler tells the co-president to be quiet. And here we are now with funding for children's cancer research being cut. For now, we've got poor people whose heating bills that they already can't afford. The $100 stipend that they've been receiving has now been cut, and they're going to owe it back because that funding has gone away. So yeah, man. But listen, don't worry about it, because Exxon and those guys, they're going to get a tax break out of this, and they're going to keep paying zero in taxes. And really, at some point in our lives, we've been waiting on it since the 80s. It's going to trickle down. Don't worry. It's coming.
Well, and here's the thing that the legislature needs to understand. Instead of all this foolishness that they're doing right now, they need to be concentrating on what we're going to do when this actually gets to Alabama, when these cuts come. That's what this session should be about. Mainly focused on what are we going to do when all this comes apart.
We don't have enough money now to keep the state functioning, and the loop-de-loos over there don't want to pass a gambling tax.
I've got an idea. Pass a gambling tax.
Yeah, well, but they don't want to do it because...
Listen, man, we're going to build a prison. Don't worry about it. We got this. We're going to build a prison. We good.
And if you criminalize folks that are vaping, you're going to need a couple more prisons. But look, we need to be serious about these issues. And is government here to do good by its citizens, or is it here to do good for the wealthy? And unfortunately, I think the wealthy always wins. That's why here we've got a motto. This is why we work so hard some days, is because our job is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. You're watching The V. We'll be right back.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Josh, you may know this bit of trivia. Now, who was Jethro Bodine's sister? Do you remember who she was? Was she Geraldine?
You know, man, I was never a big. That's Beverly Hillbillies,
Yeah,
right?
Beverly
I was never a big Beverly
Didn't catch
Hillbillies
that on
fan. I was
Nick at
more
Night.
Andy Griffith's show kind of
think it might
guy.
have
I
been
just never
Geraldine,
got
I'm
into the
not
Beverly
sure.
Hillbillies.
And I think Jethro played both characters.
Oh, you think?
I think he did. I think he was
No.
awfully cute.
They look like twins, except for
did.
she had blonde hair.
But you know, well, you alluded to this earlier.
Was he not Max? Wasn't he Max Baer, the boxer?
That was his
Wasn't it?
dad.
That was his-
His dad. He was Max Beer Jr. His dad was heavyweight boxer.
Yeah.
Got knocked out by the Cinderella Man. Yeah.
This week, this past week, we do now, in fact, have a law that says what is a woman, what is a man, what is a mother, what is a father, what is a child, what is a lane cake, all this stuff. But we knew they were going to pass this. Governor Ivey called for it. That it's been in the making. It's part of the national agenda against transgender people. Transgender youths have been used as pawns in a devil's bargain. Back in 2015, when the Supreme Court said that gay marriage was legal, groups what's the name of that group, Susan? You remember the name? The American Principle Project. They needed something that they could fire up the base and that candidates felt comfortable talking about. That this is in writing. I've written about it. National people have written about it. He said it, and they threw everything against the wall. And what they came back was people got upset about transgender men playing in youth sports or playing in collegiate sports or anything like that. That got them cranked up. So they glommed on to that issue. And now we've come to the point where in a state like Alabama, we pass a law that does no one good, but does harm. As one professor put it, they tell transgender children that they have, or transgender people too, that they don't have a right to exist.
Right. When 45% of transgender children, according to the Trevor Project, have at least considered, if not attempted, suicide. Now, I've got to ask the question here. Exactly what does this accomplish? Does this help uplift people? Is this bringing more revenue to the state? Is this outlawing something that's illegal? What good is this?
Right.
What does this actually accomplish? I'm sorry, they're not going to have a guard at the bathroom doors going, can you please show me your stuff to see which bathroom you go in?
Yeah. But Josh, I thought one of our Democratic lawmakers made a lot of sense when he was talking to Susan DuBose, the church lady who thinks that she knows everything there is about life, but nothing about living.
Certainly not about the Constitution.
He asked her, he said, what sex is God? She didn't answer that question. Then, he went on about how, we've got in God we trust down at the house, but we're making religious decisions for people's lives. And he made that case that this is not a bill that's law, that should be law as policy. It's law as religion, which you made that case many times.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that was, but I know Neil Rafferty, another Democrat in the committee hearing earlier this week on this bill, posed some pretty good questions to DuBose about this and about the science behind things, and essentially asked her, there are a lot of children that are born with both genders, basically, and he said, what do we do there? Are they considered male? They considered female? And she basically said, she said, well, whatever they choose. And he's like, oh, okay, so that's what they choose. And so he wasn't in his defense. He was not looking for a gotcha sort of thing. He was pointing out the stupidity of this whole thing, where we have. If you understand the biology, even just a little bit, and trust me, my biology scores in college would prove to you that I know very little about biology. But I do think that if you know just even a little bit, you should know enough to know to mind your own damn business. Okay. I mean, that's what I don't understand why we can't just get back to this very simple concept of leaving people alone. And I really felt like the Democrats had hit on a pretty good message for this back during the early stages of the Walz and Harris campaign, when they said, just leave people alone, man. And this is a perfect example of this, because all you have done is vilified a marginalized group of people that are so underrepresented in the population. Most people do not even know a transgender person,
right.
Or have any contact or interactions with transgender people. And that's what they're relying on. It's just this fear mongering sort of nonsense. When this first started, I talked to the then director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association about this, because this is a big thing, because it all goes back to, oh, well, we don't want these men playing in women's sports and hurting these girls. And I asked him, how often has this occurred? He'd been there for years at this point. He said, it's come up one time. It's come up one time. It was 7 or 8 years earlier. I think it was in volleyball or something. And so we followed what the doctor said. The rules that we have about testosterone and hormones and stuff and the blood test, we just followed that. Nobody made us think about it. I don't think anybody even said anything about it. It's like we had a call from one coach asking the question, and we gave him an opinion, and it went away. This was how it's handled in every state all over the place. And nobody raised a question about this until these folks vilified these people who were doing nothing but existing and trying to live their lives.
And now they're vilified nationally by the federal government. They're vilified by the state. And have they done anything harmful to other people? No. But the thing is the Republican Party, who used to be the party of freedom, the party that minded their own business, and it used to be the Democrats who wanted to get inside your bedroom. Now it's the Republicans that are living inside your bedroom, your bathroom, and your private spaces.
Yeah, but remember, the Democrats wanted to get in there for a whole different other reason now. But But
is that really governing? Why are they're concentrating on people's bedrooms because it's easy?
Well, the thing is, we do legislate morality all the time. It's just it doesn't work because people are going to do what they're going to do. And this has been proven time and again. Go ahead, Josh.
No, I just want to say, I've got a little girl, and every time this issue comes up, that she plays sports, and the people ask me, well, do you want your little girl to be out and playing sports? Aren't you worried about this? And my response is always, hell no, I'm not worried about that. Not even in the slightest bit am I worried about that, because first of all, we have rules in place and we have people with common sense in place, and I'm pretty sure that we're all going to make it to where it's working is right. Let me tell you what I do worry about is I worry about her going to school and some jackass with a gun coming in there, and you're not doing anything about that.
No.
You want to protect the kids. Start with the things that are actually damn killing them.
Well, and that's true, but the pendulum is swinging now. It's swinging further to the right and further, and you know what? At some point, that pendulum is going to break. Or either swing back.
It's going to have to break the super glue, because they have super glued that sucker in place.
We've seen this story before. It will change. I want to thank you for joining us today. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.